Thank you, Riley. We appreciate that. We appreciate you taking time in your busy evening to lead us in that pledge. And we look forward to you visiting us in the future. Thank you much. Okay, we do have we are following the virtual Zoom meeting format as we have in the past. We ask that you mute your microphones, and if you want to wish to say something, go ahead and wave your hand or whatever, and when we call on you, then you can unmute your microphone and we'll hear what you have to say. So at this point, we have the agency reports, and I think I do see Officer Hallgren here with us.
Hey, how you doing today?
Good.
Good. Can you hear me okay?
What's that?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. I have kind of bad reception. I just wanted to go over the January numbers with you guys.
Okay. All right.
Citations, I'll start with that. Within the Agua Dulce area, there was 86 citations issued. As far as arrests go, there was a total of 7 arrests. There was 5 misdemeanor, 2 were warrant arrests, and 3 were DUIs. There was 2 felonies, and both of the felonies were stolen vehicles. As far as the collisions, there was 21 collisions within your area. 8 were property damage only, 13 injury collisions, and out of the 21 collisions, 4 of them were, actually, excuse me, 2 of them were DUIs. As far as any special announcements go, there's Super Bowl this weekend, so everyone stay home and enjoy it. I think if you're anywhere near the freeways, it's going to be a real busy weekend for us. You're going to see a lot of highway patrol out this weekend. We're on a all hands on deck, so no vacations, no days off. Everyone will be working, and more than likely they'll call out a few of our special response teams to help out with the Super Bowl. But I believe Deputy Martinez, their agency, got the bid to cover the Super Bowl. So lots of coverage, lots of officers on the streets this weekend. So just kind of a heads up, it'll be a lot of traffic.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Officer Hallgren? If not, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you got it. And also, I was listening in with your conversation with Deputy Martinez about the abandoned vehicles or the parked vehicles, and I'll get with him and find out kind of how he wants to handle that, and I'll definitely help out with that.
Great. That sounds good. We appreciate the effort.
All right, buddy.
Next up, before we do go to Deputy Martinez, we did have one change in the agenda, item 18, which is a report from the Water Committee, the Watershed Area Steering Committee. When Peter Matthew is able to join us here, we're going to call on him to give his report because he has limited time that he can share with us tonight. So at this time, I'd like to move right on to our Los Angeles County Sheriff Resident Deputy Martinez.
Thank you, Don.
Yes.
So for the month of January, we have the numbers there, not for fair work, because obviously still early in the month. We had 0 Part 1 crimes and 4 total other crimes. We had 1 armed robbery, 1 vehicle theft, and 2 petty thefts from a vehicle. So that's actually a decrease of 60% from year over year, which is good. Obviously, not 100% decrease, but it's something. We had 28 reports that were taken in January and 33 calls for service at our high frequency Zoe location that we've been monitoring. However, as of February 1st, so we're 9 days into the month, we've only had 2 calls. I know they're going to be on the agenda for next month, but talking to them, part of the issue that was going on was I guess they had some federal money that was coming in, and in order to keep it, they needed to fill up all the beds, and that kind of rushed some of their process that they normally do as far as vetting the girls and making sure the right fit was there. And that kind of forced them to fill up 2 spots that would have normally not passed the the smell test, if you will, and that has been remedied as far as them leaving the property, and that kind of shows it by the number of calls that we've had there since. I mean, I think we're always gonna, as long as the pattern continues to decrease, I think that's what we're all hoping for, and then they can get back on track and kind of do what they, what they sold us on,
Great.
Okay. And then as far as after that, the only other thing is we're still hitting those grow houses, so keep on bringing in the tips. They're getting to them. It's a big old stack, and they just keep on chopping them down as they come along. So
great. Okay. Well, fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for Officer Orlando Martinez? If not, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Look forward to hearing from you in the future. We also have Marcy Calman, who is the Palmdale Community Advisory Committee spokesperson. Marcy, do you want to share anything with us?
Yeah, first I wanted to thank everybody for coming out to our town hall in January. It was a great meeting. The captain was very eager to start handling some of the issues that were brought up, and one of them was about mountain bikers being in Vasquez and kind of having some issues with some equestrians there. So actually, as of this week, Vasquez Rocks put up signs in a variety of areas of the park that now say there is no bicycling allowed inside the park. They can be in the parking lot, but they can't actually go into the park where the equestrians are using the trails. So I want to let you know that update. I also wanted to address a concern that came in to the station about why the trespass code works for off-road vehicles but not for equestrians. So I wanted to just recap some of what came out at the town hall, which is it is the motor vehicle code for trespass, which is why it applies to motor vehicles and not equestrians. You can still file a trespass misdemeanor against an equestrian if someone is there and asks them to leave and they refuse. Or if you have signage and they continue to trespass, of course you could be willing to press a misdemeanor charge against an equestrian. But the code for motor vehicles is that you have to know where you legally can ride. Similar to when you're driving a car, you have to know what the speed limit is, even if you don't see a sign. The motor vehicle code applies to the off-road vehicles, that they have to know where they legally can ride. And in LA County, that's only in designated areas. Everything else is going to be citable under that motor vehicle code. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because that was kind of an after effect of the meeting. And then I wanted to let you know that the CAC is now going to be hosting virtual community conversations. So it would be kind of a one-on-one Zoom with me or another member of the CAC. And so if you are interested in having a one-on-one with me that, over Zoom where we talk about maybe some issues, like I heard Josephine talking about graffiti, I'd love to have a one-on-one with her so that I can bring those concerns directly back to the captain. So those are my updates. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, Marcy. We appreciate your efforts. Next up, we have Los Angeles County Fire Department Community Service Representative Maria Greihan. Maria, are you with us here tonight? Yes.
I am right here.
All right, great. You have the floor.
Okay. For the month of January, there were a total of 49 responses. 2 fires. They were both vehicle fires, and they were both on the 14, one at Agua Dulce Canyon and one south of Escondido Canyon. We did have one hazardous condition call, which was a grenade was found in the dirt on somebody's property. So they called us about that, and it was turned over to the sheriffs, so they dealt with it. And there were 31 medical calls, 2 service calls, and 12 good intent calls. And that is about it.
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions for Maria? If not, thank you very much, Maria. We appreciate you showing up tonight and giving us those statistics.
You are welcome.
We're looking for more rain, so let's hope it comes.
Once the wind passes.
Yeah, I hear you there. Next up, we have the Acton Agua Dulce Library report from librarian Jim Wall.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Hope everyone's doing well.
Yes.
Library, we're still doing all kinds of activity kits over there for all the different age groups. I've still got plenty available, so if you're interested in those, come on by. pay us a visit. Also, the other big thing that's occurring right now, we started about a week ago. We are actually a distribution site for self-administered PCR COVID-19 tests. So you can come up, it's all set up in front of the library. You can pick up your kit. It's walk out to your car if you want, swab your nose, drop the kit back off, and then it gets processed by the county's lab, and they get back to you, they say within 24 to 48 hours. Rumor is they're right on the mark, if not sooner than that. And so those are available right now.
Great.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for the report, Jim. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have the 5th District report from Stephanie English.
Hi, everybody. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening.
Let me collect my notes here. You probably saw the press releases and heard about the supervisor's position for a motion that Supervisor Kuehl had authored in regards to enforcing the vaccination policy with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. As you all probably know, Sheriff Villanueva has stated that he will not be enforcing the policy or disciplining or terminating deputies, as a result of not being vaccinated. Supervisor Kuehl had authored a motion on Tuesday asking County Council if the board and the county could take over ownership, so to speak, of sheriff's deputies' employees, taking away that responsibility from the sheriff so that those deputies can be, so the vaccine policy can be enforced, which would mean, potentially termination of deputies, which of course we cannot afford to lose any of our deputies. Supervisor Barger made some very strong statements against this policy. One of those statements being the policy was implemented against one person, and that being Sheriff Villanueva. And that's not a good criteria for making policy. She also stated that, lost my train of thought there for a second. She also stated that, it's going to come back to me any second. Oh, that we have not exhausted looking for solutions to come to agreement with the union and with the deputies. We haven't exhausted our conversations with our union partners, ALADS in particular in this case, and that it's too early to try to take over that responsibility from the sheriffs. So unfortunately that passed with a 4-0 vote, the supervisor abstaining, and they will report back to the board in 30 days with what ordinances and language needs to change in order for the board to enforce the policy. There's been a lot of people calling our office saying you're going to fire X amount of deputies. It's a long process that yet remains. We don't know what challenges lay in front of us that could potentially delay that process. As you all know, Supervisor Barger is a huge supporter of our LA County Sheriff's Department and the work they do, especially right now under very challenging circumstances. So that remains to be seen. We'll come back to the board in about 30 days. You've also, I think we're all tired of talking about and hearing about COVID, but I'm sure you've heard the recent plans. The state masking requirements are changing and taking effect on February 16th. That means indoor masking from the state side is only required for unvaccinated and strongly recommended for vaccinated, except for TK through 12 schools and other jurisdictions like transit, healthcare facilities, and so forth. Definition of indoor and outdoor mega events will change on the state side from 500 to 1,000 for indoor and 5,000 to 10,000 for outdoor. The post-surge plan, as stated by Dr. Ferrer, is when COVID hospitalizations drop below 2,500 for 7 consecutive days. 2,500 hospitalized for 7 consecutive days, and then masking will no longer be required in outdoor spaces at mega events or in outdoor spaces at childcare facilities in K through 12 schools. I didn't look at the numbers the last day or two, but we're very, very close to the 2,500. I'd have to go back and look at those numbers. Masking requirements, then this goes back to the county again. Masking requirements indoors will continue, unfortunately, until LA County has 2 consecutive weeks at or below moderate transmission. And that is, so those are my dogs fighting behind me. So just if you hear that, you know what's going on. Sorry, I can't stop them. There's nothing I can do. You wondered what it was?
I wonder what you had for lunch.
Yeah, yeah, they're playing behind me and having a good time. Let's see, masking requirements indoors will continue until LA County's had 2 consecutive weeks at or below moderate transmission, as defined by the CDC, or vaccines have been made available for children under 5 for 8 weeks, and no emerging reports of significant circulating new variants of concern that would threaten vaccine effectiveness. Supervisor Barger, as I'm sure you all know, put out a statement saying it's time for the county to align with the state and remove the masking requirements for our kids, especially outdoors at schools. Let me see, the board approved a net energy, pursuing a zero net energy development in LA County, which was unanimously, a motion by Supervisor Barger that was unanimously approved that will help large scale housing and other major development projects in our unincorporated areas, embrace and incorporate environmentally friendly net zero energy solutions. Let's see, what else do we have? The county in 2019, the county had proposed single-use plastic ordinances. I think some of our town councils participated in some outreach in this regard. In 2019, the board voted unanimously to request a draft ordinance to reduce single-use plastics and foodware in unincorporated areas. It would forbid restaurants from distributing most single-use plastic items, straws, forks. Full-service restaurants may only use reusable food serviceware for dine-in. Retail stores may not sell expanded plastic items like coolers and packaging for peanuts and things like that. This is still an ongoing effort. There's some community outreach, and enforcement would include $100 per day for violations and a maximum of $1,000 per year. You know, it is what it is. Lastly, I think, as you know, in January, the board unanimously approved a motion by the supervisor to implement a nuisance abatement ordinance to charge offenders $30,000 per day who are operating illegal cannabis operations. I don't have to tell any of you, primarily in the Antelope Valley, the major grow operations up there are kind of a whack-a-mole. As Deputy Martinez indicated, there's a concerted effort to try to address those issues. The ordinance declares any unpermitted commercial cannabis activity in unincorporated areas to be both illegal and a public nuisance, and establishes a procedure for the abatement. The county is currently developing a study that will propose recommendations for legal cannabis operations, including retail, manufacturing, distribution, and enforcement of legal operations. The supervisor made a statement, quote, "Our county is working aggressively to protect our communities against the harm inflicted upon them by illegal cannabis operations. We lack legally enforceable options to combat dangerous operations that are continually putting neighborhoods at risk. Today's motion is about addressing that gap. As you all know, those major operations are, stealing water and electricity and just really a tremendous nuisance. And the teams are continuing to work and won't stop. And unfortunately, though, there is a little bit of a whack-a-mole process involved in that. So we're going to continue to go after those grows financially, legally, in any way that we possibly can, and over time, trust that we'll win that battle. That's all I have.
Well, thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Stephanie? If not, hey, we appreciate you showing up tonight and giving us that report. We look forward to hearing how the progress goes on a lot of these matters.
Yep. Thanks.
Next up, we have California 38th Assembly District Assembly Member Suzette Martinez Valadares, Representative Patsy Ayala. Patsy, are you here? She normally is, but I don't see her.
I don't see Patsy in our group.
Okay. If she shows up, we'll come back to her. Then we have Senate District Senator Scott Wilk, Brandon. Look. Brandon here. I don't see him. Okay, so anyway, we're hoping to hear back. Does anybody have anything to share on the SB 55? Means that he's not here. Hopefully he shows up and can give us an update on that. That's pretty concerning. Next up, we have U.S. Congressional District, 25th District, Mike Garcia, Jackie Owens.
Oh, hey there. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are hope everyone's doing well. And wanted to follow up. I'm a little bit on my schedule. I'm trying to remember if this meeting's met since the meeting in Lake Hughes with the sheriff and the supervisor and the congressman regarding the illegal grows. I just want to say publicly to everybody that the congressman is working really hard along with the supervisor, and the sheriff's department. Sheriff 3 in the Wave has been a great supporter on this illegal grows. And one of the things that our office has been able to do is work with the DEA, which funds the marijuana eradication team. And so there was a grant that the DEA was able to increase that will help fund those hardworking men and women out there fighting these illegal grows, as Stephanie called them, the whack-a-mole. I can't thank the sheriff's department enough that those folks want to get up every day and go back out and do their job. But I'm grateful they are. I'm just still surprised they do, but I'm super grateful. And but the congressman is not done. This is by any stretch of the imagination. He's going to continue to fight this. He's going to continue to look on the federal level as to what we can do, including working with the FBI, the DEA, and other federal agencies, including Fish and Wildlife. So it is going to be a full court press from all the collaborative efforts, but that's something that he's committed to. And as we all know, it's something that it's not just the aspect of illegal grows. We've got human trafficking, we've got a transnational criminal organization operating in our backyard, and good citizens being threatened by lawless people. So this is something the congressman is very committed to doing. In addition to that, I just want to reach out to everyone and let you know that our office is in Palmdale, and one of the things that we do every day is help constituents with casework. And my casework in particular is the IRS and SBA, in addition to being a field rep. So a typical call for me would be if someone didn't get their tax refund. The IRS is about 88 million tax returns behind. So I don't want you to be discouraged. It's nothing personal if you didn't get your tax refund. You're in with good company. But that's the sort of thing I help with. And another aspect we work with is if someone didn't get their stimulus, or they've got other tax issues, or a small business trying to get their EIDL loan processed and pushed through that with the SBA. My colleagues in our office have veteran resources available. They work really, really hard to help our veterans. immigration, passport, social security. It's one of those things that we are a resource. And unfortunately, folks don't know that, and they'll actually go out to pay somebody to take care of these things for them. So if you or anyone on this call or your neighbors think that they have an issue with a federal agency, please have them call us first before they go and pay somebody to take care of their issue with whatever federal agency, because we would love to help, and we will, do our best to assist them. So with that, please, I'll just pause there if anyone has any questions, and I'll also put my email in the chat.
Okay, looks like we have one question there from Pamela Hudson. Just went away. So somebody has that question. We can listen to that. Pamela? Okay.
Don, I have a question from Mr. Garcia regarding illegal grow operations. I do not know how to raise my hand. I am muted. So maybe just call on Pam.
Oh, okay.
So Pam, are you there?
Can you hear us? You push *6, I understand, on the phone. Or click the little microphone icon down in the lower left-hand corner of your screen there if you have it. You might just have a bad connection. All right. Well, I'm sure they can come up later on, if not in the open forum portion of the meeting. Jackie, we sure appreciate the efforts you're putting into this, and we appreciate you reaching out to those that need your help with the IRS and whatnot. So we thank you for joining our meeting tonight and look forward to working with you in the future.
You are welcome.
Am I unmuted now?
You are unmuted now. Go for it. Is this Pam?
Okay. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I'm on the phone because I'm getting a delay on the computer, and then I clicked that little audio thing 92 times and it didn't work.
Okay.
Yes, my question in regard to the illegal grow operations, I had 4 calls to the local narcotics officer, Detective Torres. I spoke 3 or 4 times with the sheriff's department, and also with Mr. Garcia's office, and a couple of times with Catherine Barger's office. I did not get any real direct answers from anyone. They did come and raid the locations on Escondido Canyon Road that I mentioned to them, one of which is directly next door to my home. I actually called while they were moving the weed out of their house into the U-Haul trailer to take it away. That's when I called the sheriff's department 4 times, and no one would come, and I was told they had to have a warrant. The narcotics officer called me the next morning and said they had their ways of knowing how, what was going on in the grow operation. I don't know how they can do it from a helicopter when I can see it with my own eyes, but but they did, and they came. But what I have since been told is that there is a $500 fine to these operations for their illegal grows, and or 6 months in jail. Give them the 6 months in jail, not the $500. That's probably 1 bud worth of, they probably get that much money for 1 bud. There was a grocery bag as big as the inside of my car sitting on the table that I actually saw visually. The question is, what is being done about it? I have tried to contact the governor's office. I am getting no response. I am under the impression that until this is changed from a misdemeanor to a felony, the fines are going to continue to be minimal.
So Pamela,
I need a list, and I would like to have a list of every entity in the state of California that a letter needs to be sent to, because I would like to start a petition of the local neighbors to get this on the ballot for a felony vote. This is not going anywhere the way it is, and I live next door and within half a mile of 4 grow operations, and I'm afraid, and I want to know what's going to be done besides lip service.
okay.
Let's hear it from Deputy Orlando Martinez. Okay.
Let's start off with a couple of different things. Like we mentioned already, that Mike Garcia's office and stuff like that has given us funding, so we're able to hit it and get in touch with other agencies. So yes, when Prop 64 was legalized, part of the problem was it went from a felony to a misdemeanor. Okay, so we have growers from other states that have now come into California and set up shop, because why do it in Oregon when it's still a felony, or Colorado when you can come do it for a misdemeanor? Our current district attorney does not prosecute misdemeanors. Kind of see the conundrum here. So they're going after them in different venues. Federally, mostly it's EPA stuff. All the toxins they're using, if they're diverting waterways, all that other stuff. So that's all encompassing. As far as telling you what's happening at a particular location, you're never going to get facts on an active case. That goes for any crime. If there's an active pending case that still hasn't gone to court, hasn't been closed out, the investigators are not going to give you any details on that operation. As far as the amount of plants, it really does not matter the amount. They'll take whatever in the house is, and what they do is called sampling. So they'll take every different room, usually has different stages of growth of plants. So they'll be like, bedroom 1, here's a sampling. Bedroom 2, here's a sampling. Then they'll destroy whatever crops are there. So it's not like, they don't necessarily go, hey, like, we had 400 versus 300 plants. That doesn't make a difference as far when it goes to court. They set up undercover surveillance, so there's usually some monitoring going on, cameras, also there's stuff, drone. They do it all. There's guys up in the hills in ghillie suits, with the whole 9 yards. So they have eyes on those houses. That team that we have right now is on average hitting 9 houses, search warrants, with the whole investigation, everything, a week. So the tempo of what they're doing is insane. We went from over 100 houses last year to around 40. So it does take a little bit of time to hit them, but they're hitting them as fast as they can, and the tempo that they're hitting them at is amazing. And then with like Stephanie English had mentioned, Catherine Barker's new litigation that she's added to that fine is significant, and there's always a cost. It's a return on investment. There's houses that we've seen that we've hit multiple times, and then the cost of doing business is too much, and then they sell the house. And now we have the rehab programs in place now with the abatement teams and stuff of not only just leaving the house as is bringing it back up to where it can be sold to a family and rehab the property. So there's different stuff. I know that you're going to get you want like an answer immediately what's going on. They're inundated, and that I can only talk in general terms, but I can't say specifically to those entities. As far as starting a grassroots to change it back to felony, absolutely. I mean, you could start also with current recall efforts that are going on too. We would greatly appreciate that too.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for the answer.
That didn't answer my question.
What didn't I answer specifically, Pamela?
Well, I guess what I'd like to know is can we get a list of legislature personnel that we can send group letters to requesting that they support the change from a misdemeanor to a felony, because it's $500 a fine. They're not going to ever want to move.
It's not
just $500 is not going to do anything.
It's not just $500.
That's what it.
So, like Stephanie English had just mentioned, this new fine that they're putting in is $33,000 a day.
Oh, okay. So the growers are getting $33,000 a day fines.
The property owners.
Okay,
so
well that's a bigger deal.
And then the misdemeanor $500 fine, that's just on the California side. All these grow houses, they're adding federal charges to, because it's still federally illegal. So those federal crimes still take, then they do asset forfeitures and stuff. So if they can't come up with how they bought these houses, how they got their cars and stuff, all that gets repossessed. It's not just the $500 fine. That is the California for growing, for the misdemeanor. But that's not all that's going out there. They're throwing everything at it, and we're getting help from all the federal agencies. It's not just us. It's a big effort, and they're taking a big chunk out of all the grow houses that are out there.
Okay, well that $33,000 is that makes a big difference. The next step is what about media? If we contact my ex is an ex-general manager for the city of LA, my wife. I'd like to know if we contact the media and get more media and press, if it will help.
So we have had media coverage on it. We had a documentary done by an independent journalist. There's been a couple of documentaries. We've had Mike Garcia do I don't know exactly, Jackie, you could probably fill me in on this one. You went on a helicopter.
It was on Fox News.
Yeah, Fox News.
With
Yeah.
Sarah Porter.
So, I mean, it's been covered several times.
We need to continue with the media press, not just what's happened in the past, because that obviously was not enough.
I mean, we're getting big buck funding, and it's a time thing. And we're not the only fish in the ocean, if you will. San Bernardino's dealing with this. Every county in California is dealing with this. Oklahoma's dealing with this now like crazy because they taxed it too low, and it's like $2,500 to legally grow it to get a license. So they're getting a new gold rush, and a lot of our California guys are starting to head that way and technically legally grow it. So you could do whatever you need to do. We appreciate it, but I mean, we are getting a lot of federal help and local. Everyone's aware that it's an issue. We're just not the only ones that are dealing with it.
I'd like to recognize.
What about endangerment to people? What about endangerment to the people who live next to them? What about if there are threats made?
Pamela, hold on a second. Stuart's had his hand up for about the last 5 minutes. Stuart, do you want to add something to this?
All right, thank you. I'd just like to address threats.
Okay. Yes, Stuart, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I really appreciate this conversation. I think it's a great discourse. My specific question is regarding rehabilitation or of the actual homes. They're, after on the backside of this, they become very damaged, and you're talking about hundreds of homes, it sounds like. And that really deteriorates the community by affecting, resale value and whatnot. So my question is, regarding rehabbing these homes, does anyone know where that money is coming from to rehab these homes? And where is the money coming from to budget for going after these people? Because my understanding is that, when this came up for a vote a while ago, there wasn't going to be a serious negative effect on our budget. But, it clearly seems like there's a lot of money being pumped into this. So I'm just wondering if anybody has an eye on the budget. And if so, I'd love to hear that. Thank you so much.
The money comes from, we get a federal grant every year for marijuana eradication. And then anything that's seized in asset forfeitures is sold, and it goes to a general fund to combat it again and also rehab the properties. So they're paying for it themselves.
All right, good enough. Well, that concludes our report from Jackie Owens. We appreciate it, Jackie. Now we're going to move on to the president's report. We had some incoming correspondence for action.
Hey, Don, can I interrupt for a second? I think Peter is here if we want to get the Santa Clara River Watershed Steering Committee report.
Let's go to Peter. If Peter's here, let's go to him and hear his report. Peter?
Yeah, hi
There
everybody.
he is.
There he is. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've just been updating Mary on a pretty regular basis, but we've been working on a drought relief project because of some special funding that's come up that could be of service to the community here. I won't go into any details right now because we're still fleshing some things out, but next step will be doing some more work with Mary on getting figuring out the right way to get some community input. That might either be through getting a group together or maybe issuing some surveys, digital surveys, and or coming back to this meeting in March. I also will offer up just a side note, and I guess and that is that Tree People is in the process of hiring a community organizer to help recruit volunteers for the restoration work that we're doing in San Francisco Canyon and in other parts of the Angeles in the upper Santa Clara River area. And we'd really love to have someone who's local to the Santa Clara River community. So if it's okay, I'll put a link to the job description in the chat, and you can take that and share it around if possible. That would be greatly appreciated. And I believe that Mary, did you want to cover the other item?
Sure. I just wanted to kind of throw this out there because I know the Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee meets once a month in the middle of the day on a Thursday. And I know it's hard to get even on Zoom with everybody working and your lives are busy. And these meetings right now are being done by Zoom and they're being recorded. And I think it would be beneficial if those video recordings were made public so that we all could see how the money that we're spending on Measure W, that we're contributing on Measure W, is being spent. So I'd really like to see if it is a good idea, if the community is looking for something like that, to get a little additional community engagement. A lot of times you don't want to have to sit through a meeting when you're not even sure what the meeting is about. So if the video is there, you can understand what this is all about. You can fast forward through the stuff that you don't want to be part of. But we're approving projects that are in the city of Santa Clarita and also in unincorporated county areas. Not anything out by our area at this point. Peter is working on getting us included. So, I mean, I'd like to send a request to the Santa Clara River WASC chair indicating that we want videos of the meeting posted on their website. So I'd like to propose that. And if...
Would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I do. I'd like to make a motion that we send the request that the videos be available to the public on the Safe Clean Water website.
Okay, all right. Do I hear a second on that motion?
Yeah. I'm muted. I don't want to be...
Anybody want to second that motion? All right.
I'll second that motion.
Second.
But also,
right.
can we get everybody muted because I think it's Pamela again.
Yeah, we've got
I
someone
barely hear what Mary's saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it says it's muted.
So you were muted.
Oh, I apologize.
Push, yeah, star 6. Okay, star 6. There's 2. Now I know. Okay.
Now I know
All
who's
right. Thank you, Lou. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to write a letter. Any more discussion on that letter? It sounds to me like it's a good idea. If not, let's have the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mary, can you draft that letter up so we can get that off to them? And
I will do that.
And as far as anybody who is interested in becoming more involved in this particular group, should they contact Peter, or should they contact Mary, or who should they contact?
They can contact either Peter or I. Peter was going to put some information on that job description in the chat, which I think would be helpful. I think there might be somebody, and I would also that might work for.
Great.
So,
all right.
Peter, is there anything else that you've got?
No, that's what I'll just add a comment with the videos, since Mary and I and are in all of those meetings. One of the things we can do with, if it's approved, and we can start getting those videos, is we could also give updates. During our updates, we could say, point to which videos might be of greatest interest to make it more efficient for everybody. But it's a great idea, Mary.
Sounds like a good idea. Okay. All right. So that being the case, we're going to move on to the, thank you very much, Peter, for joining our meeting tonight. We appreciate you taking the time to keep us informed.
You bet.
All right. Next up, we have incoming correspondence for action. We have the request from Land, Sea, Air, Aguadulce Airport agenda requirement that they make twice a year. At this point, to my knowledge, nothing's been raised question-wise from the community. So if I can have a motion from the floor that we write the same letter that we responded with until something changes, we can send that response to, I think it's Darlene Forrell. So I'll need a, okay. That was Candy?
Yes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mary, if you can draft up that letter and send that to them, I'd appreciate it.
Will do.
Next up, we have incoming correspondence for notice. There's just a whole number of regional planning plans that have been filed. Business licenses to operate a retail nursery, a counseling application for the SEA requirement, Brown Mount Solar, convert approved conditional use permit for a second residence to an ADU. These are all pretty much look like they're residential changes. If anybody is concerned about any, definitely they can get a hold of regional planning and voice their opinion. We have a public hearing coming up tomorrow, which is the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board to issue a waste discharge requirement to RTG Investments, LLC, for the Aguadulce Residential Development, file number 20-105. That meeting is held tomorrow, February 10th, 2022 at 9 a.m. You can listen to it, however, you cannot make comment unless you've already registered to make comment prior to the meeting. That particular website is shown on our agenda here. If you want to look that up and click on it, that's the link that'll take you to that actual meeting, I believe. We also have Los Angeles County Regional Planning Commission to be determined late March 2022, the draft ordinance for wireless facility ordinances and design guidelines. That's coming up. And lastly, we have Gardens of Paradise, notice of public hearing, LA County Board of Supervisors. This is a big one. May 17th, 2022. So if everybody can write that date down on your calendars to attend that meeting and give input, we would sure appreciate it. Old business. We have RTG Investments, the Aguadulce residential project. And I believe Chris Udall has been working effortlessly on this particular project, and I'm just wondering if he wants to give us an update or report or anything that he's uncovered.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, like a lot of people, I've been on a fairly steep learning curve about the history of this project over the last 3 decades, and I've attended, obviously, the November meeting where RTG presented. That generated the correspondence between Catherine Barger and a couple of the LA County departments. I listened to the community comments on the water board for the grading permits, which is the subject of tomorrow's meeting. And I thought, I made a comment in the previous meeting about some concerns I had that, things that are circulating in orbit around this project may have a negative impact on the project itself over the course of time. So really, I wanted to use the next 3 or 4 minutes just to share my screen, if I can coordinate that with Mary, and just run through a couple of issues that I think are relevant so that we can hopefully shape some of the discussion that I think is going to happen later on in this meeting.
Go ahead and try and share your screen now. Because I've got it. Do you have a little green button there for share screen?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I keep trying. It says host disabled.
Okay, let's try that.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Let's try this one. I'm going to flip to this one now and go full screen, all being well, and this will work. Okay, so I've shared this PDF with Mary, and we'll make sure everybody has a public copy of it. The first thing I wanted to do was really help everyone understand what the role of the town council in all of this is. And if you go to the town council's website, you can see the charter. These are the issues that we as town council members are obligated to do on behalf of the community. We don't make the planning rules. We deal with the aftermath, I think, is probably the right way of looking at it. And we serve as the conduit for the community's concerns to voice those concerns to the right individuals. At the last meeting that we had in January, Stephanie English, listening to the community comments, suggested that the council might want to consolidate all these different comments and then put a letter together that can be put in front of Supervisor Varga. So if you look at the history of this project, it actually dates back to the 1980s. The initial developer was a company called Pratty, and they proposed to build 800 to 1,200 homes on that 900-acre lot. And obviously, much like what we're seeing now, there was a significant amount of opposition to that. I think that opposition gave rise to the what we call now the Agua Dulce Community Standards District, which requires a minimum of 2 to 5 acres for residential development. I think Pratty, to use an English expression, got the hump when they got all this opposition and threatened to put a prison on the property for a short while. And then they came back and said, well, what we'll do now is we'll create a cluster home development with lots of open space in between them on the hillsides. But by that time, that project no longer met the requirements of the Community Standards District, so it was put on ice. And Pratty sold the development to a company called Casulis in the 1990s. And they adopted a different approach. They engaged with the community. One of the issues at the time was the water supply, and they agreed to bring in municipal water so that they could preserve the local groundwater supplies. They put a wastewater treatment proposal in there and suggested that the wastewater could then be used for irrigation that would recharge in some way the local groundwater as well. They added some multi-use trails, which everybody had the right to use. And that generated what we're dealing with now, which was this tract map, which I've numbered here in this presentation. That was recorded, and right now, as I understand it, the first 68 homes of those 247 properties are actually recorded, and that was done back in 2002, and that was essentially the focus of all the documentation. Once they got their approvals in 2007, Casulis obviously got right on the job, and here we are, 15 plus years later, and we're just breaking ground after they sold it to RTG Investments in 2019. And I'm not going to rehash the background of RTG because I think that's pretty well understood in terms of where the source of their funding comes from. So after the November meeting, Supervisor Varga listened to the communities concerned and wrote to Regional Planning and the Department of Public Works and suggested that there was quite a significant amount of concern about the entitlements, the environmental impacts, land use and zoning, and the wastewater treatment plant and the water main lines. Regional Planning responded to that and essentially just regurgitated what had happened back in 2007 and suggested that everything was in order, that 247 homes meets the requirements of the 1984 area plan. The only issue for environmental issues was air quality, but the fact that the air quality might become an issue was outweighed by the benefits of the project. There was some talk in there about the subdivision map needed to be recast because 5 of the lots didn't meet the minimum 2 acres. And there was also a requirement for a feasibility study for the disposal of the sludge and brine water from the wastewater treatment plants, and Public Works is tasked to explore that. I think the interesting thing is that we certainly have seen a response from the Department of Regional Planning, but we've seen nothing as yet, as I understand it, from the Department of Public Works to that letter. So I think they're is one of the issues that we need to be concerned about. Then there's a series of external issues. I think if you look at the response that we got to Stephanie Barger's letter, and you look at the response that has just been circulated by the Water Board ahead of tomorrow's meeting, the general message is, yeah, we hear what you're saying, but we're going to go and do this anyway because it's sort of dating back 15 years and those entitlements are still valid. But what we can't do is ignore a lot of things that have happened a lot more recently. As I mentioned earlier, this thing has been sitting on the cards for 15 years. And in that 15-year period, we've got a state that has an increasing amount of drought. We had significant water restrictions back in 2014, and now we're back there again in 2021-22 with, I think, 29 water agencies being told they're not getting any allocations from the state water project. And we've had some very significant destructive wildfires, not just in the state, but more locally with the Station Fire and the Bobcat Fire in recent memory. And in addition to that, after those destructive wildfires, we all now have the annual PSB events to work our way through. So we now get our power shut off, or we end up under the threat of power shutoffs. And those power shutoffs have continued even after Edison has upgraded the local infrastructure. The area of this project is currently designated a very high fire hazard severity zone by CAL FIRE. In June of last year, a gentleman by the name of Ricardo Lara, who's the California State Insurance Commissioner, sat down with the insurance companies at this annual event that they have, which I must admit must have been gripping, and they went through a series of new rules and regulations that they're going to propose governing the issuance of fire insurance in high fire areas. Big insurers like AIG and Chubb this year have already started to tell property owners across the states with multi-million-dollar properties that they're being cancelled. So this isn't just something for Acton and Agua Dulce to deal with. This is now starting to happen more widely. And what the commissioner has said is that they may turn around and tell those property owners of these new properties that have been built in high fire risk areas that backstop the FAIR plan, which the state offers to anybody who can't get fire insurance in the normal market, will no longer be available to new properties built in high fire areas. And then in 2018, we had a series of changes that have been made to the California Environmental Quality Act that require developers to take this wildfire risk into account when they're going through the process of planning these projects. The other thing that started to happen is that very, very significant developments that are in rural high fire areas across the state, the Gwinnett Valley project near Calistoga up in Lake County, the Otay Ranch Resort down in San Diego, have had lawsuits filed against them to stop these projects going forward. I think it's the Center for Biological Diversity that seems to be behind these. And the state attorney general, Xavier Becerra, and more recently Rob Bonta, have intervened and actually supported these lawsuits to stop these developments being put together in these high fire areas. And there's one just north of here up in Fort Tejon, which I think is on the largest ranch in California, Fort Tejon, up on the 5 on the Kern County, LA County border. That project has been blocked by a judge, again citing wildfire concerns. So even though we've had all these approvals from 2007, we've got a number of planetary issues around the edge of this that could have some fairly profound effects if this trend continues. And there's really a dichotomy because the LA County in the state of California has this objective to build more affordable housing. And that's now at odds with this issue about constructing new builds in high fire risk areas. So the 5 Point Valencia project that's happening along Highway 126, their affordable homes are ostensibly affordable. They start in the 400,000s. Large 2-acre homes like the ones we're looking at here, I would struggle to suggest that this is affordable housing that's been built on this particular development. And just this month, Stephanie English will know this, Catherine Barger proposed a motion requiring all these new construction projects to become zero net energy, where the solar power and other resources that they use to generate power on site actually is more than the amount of power that they're consuming as a facility. So there's a number of external factors that I think are appropriate. In terms of where I think we stand with the current issue, if we accept that it's unlikely that the regional planning and the water board want to really look at this and look at what happened in 2007 and reinvestigate, there are some significant issues that I think as a community we still have to get to grips with. The water treatment plant was referenced in the SEIR documentation from 2017 as a conceptual design, and it was intended that it would mirror what was going to be done at a development closer to the 14 called the Adtc project. That was abandoned, so obviously we have a conceptual design for a water treatment plant that's following something that was never built and was abandoned. And I think, interestingly, the Department of Public Works, as I understand, has not yet responded to Supervisor Barger's December letter. The other issue, I think, is that this whole project is predicated on the availability of municipal water, and that's coming from ABEC. Given the state water project's recent decisions not to deliver water to 29 agencies that serve much bigger communities than this, shouldn't the settlement of those water rights be a precursor to getting this done? Because you run the risk of building a project and then not being able to get the water to the homes, and then you've got graded hillsides and home no water. And the other issue, I think, is the fact that right now only 68 of those first phase properties are recorded. There's another 179 that are not yet recorded. Is it likely that because of this state level intervention by not just environmentalists, but now the State Attorney General, to restrict developments like this in high fire zones, is there a possibility that phase 2 may get stopped? It still has to be recorded. It will still have to go through the requirements that were in place at the time. And in that instance, you run the risk that you have phase 1 down in the southeastern corner of the project with 68 homes, a water treatment plant up in the northwestern corner of the project in Agua next to Shady Lane, and a huge amount of empty space in between. So the people managed to use the water treatment facility half a mile or so away and leave it to the neighbours up there to deal with the problems that creates, and nothing gets built in between. So I think there are some very significant issues that weren't in play back in 2007 when this was first approved that need to be considered and appropriately answered, because these aren't minor issues. When the State Attorney General is turning around and getting involved and telling developers they can't build in high fire areas, when the legislature is looking at issues like SB 55 to limit this, we need to be mindful of what happens in phase 1 and what could potentially happen in phase 2 that could reshape how this project ends up playing out. And that's really what I wanted to share as my contribution from sort of learning about this over the last 2 or 3 months.
Thank you, Chris. That's quite an in-depth report. I'm looking at all those facts and figures that you've researched, and it just seems to me like you're on top of what's going on and you've got some great ideas. Do you have the time and energy to be the chair of a committee to look into these things to where we can figure out, or let me just ask you, what do you think can be done at this point? Let's start there.
I think going back to that slide about our charter, the council acted in a way that was appropriate in 2007, given all the facts that were available to the council at the time. There are a whole new set of issues now that are not relevant just to Agua Dulce, but they're statewide issues. And these are significant developments that have been stopped. The project up at Fort Tejon is 19,300 homes, plus retail, plus commercial. The there is a lot of community input. A number of people have been doing a lot of research in the background. I think we do need to take up Stephanie English's invitation to write to Supervisor Barger and ask two things. We should, irrespective of this, we should ask the Department of Public Works to respond on the wastewater treatment plant, but we should also channel these greater issues to regional planning and to the other agencies that still have parts of this project to approve, and ask them to not pretend that we're still in 2007 and actually deal with this in the context of 2022.
Be willing to chair that? Would you be willing to chair that committee, Chris, or be an oversight person to that committee? Something. Here's the thing: if we do it in the town council under the Brown Act, number one, we don't have a place to have a personal meeting where we can all get together. If it's a committee, you're not held to the same constraints that we are as the town council. Now, the town council can hear the committee's reports, and with those reports, we can take community comment, and out of that, we would be able to draft a letter or draft some kind of a response. I'm also surprised that Public Works has not answered that letter, because to me it seems like, okay, you've got these legal lots that are just boundaries and dirt, but there's no homes there yet. So it was my understanding that they were going to need to bring in the water and do the wastewater treatment plant before the homes could be built, but I may be wrong. But that's some of the things, and I'm sure there's some people here tonight that have done some research also, and all I'm looking forward to is if we can put these people together, and together they can show each other what facts they have, and out of that, if we can come up with some kind of a game plan as to what to do going forward. I mean, we have already requested, the town council has already requested input from the Board of Supervisors, from regional planning. I've talked with some of the people at the regional planning myself, and they just keep giving us the same answers. Where, well, it's been approved and nothing we can do now, it's in the state's hands, so on and so forth. So it looks to me like you've dug up a number of issues where even though these particular developments have had approval, somehow they've been able to be stopped. Is that correct?
That is correct. Some of them have been told they can't proceed, and some of them have been put on hold, like Port Tejon, while other issues are resolved. In the case of one of them, and I think it was the Gwinnett Valley project up in Lake County, that project had extensive fire. They had fire breaks built in there. They had fire cameras. They had safe zones for residents to flee to if there was a problem. And they turned around and said, no, sorry, you can't do this. You're not going to build this in this area. So I think you touch on a point there, Don, which is that there's this 15-year gap now between when this was all discussed and proved with various agencies at LA County. Ground was never broken. The project sat idle for many, many years. A lot of those people, I think, have moved on into different departments, or they're living now in Arizona and have retired. And we need to just understand that a lot can fall through the cracks, and it's really incumbent upon us as a committee, if you like, to make sure that those things don't fall through the cracks and that this is done properly and in an orderly manner. And I would be happy to be a conduit to receive that information and try and structure it into something we can put in front of Supervisor Barger by Stephanie.
Okay.
Don, I just want to jump in and say, if it's a committee of the town council, that committee still has to go by the Brown Act.
It does. Okay.
So I know when we did the power towers, we formed a group completely separate and apart from the council, okay, and then reported to the council our findings. Okay. So if that's the direction you want to go, I think if not, if the Brown Act is a problem, then it needs to be done more kind of at a grassroots area.
Well, and that's my concern, because some of these items, you know, it's going to want to happen, especially in today's climate out here. It's going to want to happen over a phone call. It's going to want to happen with a small meeting at Maria Benita's or at someone's house. And with the Brown Act constraints, I mean, you're talking 72-hour notice. The agenda's got to be posted, and it just goes on and on and on and on. It's got your hands tied. It's got your hands tied from the standpoint that you're not able to achieve just this report you gave tonight. That was from your own personal research. Well, if someone else here in the audience has facts and figures too, which I think we can all agree. I don't know of anybody in Ogwood Olsey that is just so excited to see this development go through. Okay, so, but the fact that they've already gotten approvals, that's where I don't know what kind of leverage you may have to damper their development. So I think until, you know, if a committee could be put together, not under the town council apparently, but a committee, an action committee to research what the possibilities are, then with that we can find out if we do actually have some way to create an action. Because as of right now, you know, we gave them, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but we gave them all the questions that were brought up into the chat room. And to my knowledge, I haven't seen any of the responses. I know they were going to respond to the people individually, but have you seen anything collectively that they've provided as far as their responses?
No, they have not. And after our last meeting, I followed up with them again to find out where they were. And they indicated that they wanted to make sure that they were thorough and answered everything. And they were working on it, but they had not finalized it yet. Okay. So tomorrow morning, I'll do the same thing. I'll follow up with them again. Yeah. But I mean, some of those questions were just specifically, they're the only ones who can answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think Chris's plan of attack, I think, is absolutely the right way to go. Is that there are certain things that have come up within these 15 years that would allow some type of review anyway. If nothing else, it needs to be reviewed again to see if it is legal or but okay, I'm just seeing Josie Gutierrez from Public Works is here, and I kind of think.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, there you go.
I had a hard time looking for the hand raise, and I didn't want to interrupt. But I believe Public Works sent a letter dated December 20th as a response to Supervisor Barber's. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it right now with me, but I'll email you, Mary, the response from Public Works relating to the wastewater treatment and I believe some questions on the water system improvements.
Okay, is it possible, we just probably weren't copied on that?
No, from the copy that I have, it was regional planning was copied. So,
okay.
But, I'll look for a copy and then email it to you first thing tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, because to my knowledge, we never got a response back on that. So whatever you could do, Josephine, that would be great. That would give us Public Works viewpoint on this. So as far as a committee, what are the thoughts out there? I'm looking for suggestions from, yes, Chris.
So Don, one of the things that I've noticed is that there's an active group on Facebook of some local residents, and there's a couple of people in that group who've been very active on their research behind the project. They're not part of the town council, so they're not covered by the Brown Act. And I wonder, with your and Mary's advice, whether I could sit down with them, listen to what they have to say, and then bring that information in a structured way back to the council.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what we're looking for, Chris.
Chris? Is the perfect way to do it, Chris.
Yes.
Hello. This is Marcy Winter. I'm trying to raise my hand. Hi, Chris.
We see it there. Okay, sorry about
great.
that. Go ahead.
Thank you. Chris, I was part of the group that started the Facebook group, and I would love to talk to you about helping with the committee, participating. A couple of the other members, Justine Turner, Susan Turner, Marcy Callahan, have been instrumental in doing all of those deep dive investigations, and I'd love to participate. I'd be happy to lend my home as a place to meet, whatever it would take. I live right, I am the next house over from Marcy Callahan, and we both face this basin where the original location for the sewage treatment plant was supposed to be. And so this really hits close to home for myself. But in addition, my husband and I, we moved out here 3 years ago for exactly what we have right now. And so we are very passionate about helping and being part of what's going on and making it stop.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think what we're suggesting, Marcy, is not creating a committee, but just having a member of the town council, in this case myself, sit down with you all, go through this in some detail, and then bring that back to the council in a structured way so that we can put those suggestions in front of Supervisor Barger and hopefully get some appropriate action to consider the extent of what could happen in this project in light of current climate.
Well, I totally understand, and in whatever format it would be, I think being, organized in doing what you're talking about, to getting, getting all of this information to Ms. Barger is important. Right now, we were just, we threw this Facebook group up just to make people aware. So now it clearly needs to go to the next step.
Okay. If that's the case, can someone give us a phone number that they would allow people to send texts to so that we could get everybody's email addresses? Or how do you think this should? How do you think this should be addressed, Chris? What's your thoughts? I'm thinking if somebody has a phone number.
Can I interject for just a moment? We did also start. I created an email address for this group, so perhaps you can make use of that. I can give you that information, and Chris, I can add you onto it as a group member, to be able to, or whoever is participating, so that we can all make use of that. We also have a Google Drive for documents. So
perfect. Okay, so you can contact Chris and share that information with him.
Chris, I'll DM you right now through the chat.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Marcy.
Okay.
And thank you, Don, and thank you, Mary, for giving me the floor to present that.
Wonderful job. Wonderful job. That's what we were looking for.
Don, we've got, okay, now she disappeared. I thought there was somebody who wanted to speak, but.
I have a question. I can't figure out how to put my hand up. I'm usually pretty good at this.
We see it. Okay, Kat, go ahead.
On that group email, I was great. I was appreciative to be on it, but if you can maybe make it a blind CC email, because it does show everybody's emails, and some people are very sensitive about that. Mary, Mary Winter, was it Mary Winter?
Yes, no, it's Marcy. Hi.
Marcy, sorry.
No,
that's just my only suggestion.
No problem at all. I'll make sure that all emails stay in the blind copy.
Okay.
Cool.
Part of things.
But I appreciate your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Justine, I think we have a hand up over here in the upper left-hand corner. Yes, Justine.
I'm here.
Yes.
So, okay. I am Chris, that was a wonderful overview. Thank you. I thought that was
you covered a lot of the points. I actually have written to Barger and Anish and Public Works because I had done well, to get back to the very beginning, I've lived here for 30 years and I don't really understand something. I don't understand why the town council in 2007, I know you said, Chris, that you thought that with the information they had at the time, that they approved this project and sent a letter approving the subdivision. And I really don't agree with that. I don't understand why the town council and Mary Johnson and Don Henry were on the town council in 2007 and voted yes for this project. Maybe they can address that later. But I did go back and I talked with Lily and she went through the Country Journal and printed out a lot of anything that pertained to meetings she attended about the project prior to 2007 and the hearing. And, you know, there really wasn't any town hall meetings like we had with the airport and other things that have become issues out here. You know, we had a terrific outpouring on the Gardens of Paradise, and there would have been a really strong reaction to this subdivision at the time, and only 5 people went to that hearing in 2007. So I just wanted to say that. I don't think it was handled right, and I'm hoping that the town council at this point, because the town council, you know, Antonovich participated in getting it started through Leona Valley, and you're such an important entity, and I'm really hoping that the council that's existing now, with the facts that you have now, is going to write a new letter that's going to, and that maybe you will, through this process, maybe you can do some kind of polling to see that how the community opposes this. But I'm hoping that'll happen. But I wanted to say, I did write.
Justine, one question along those lines. You're bringing up the past, 2007.
Yeah.
Are you aware of what the CSD was in 2007?
You know, no, I was actually trying to look for the CSD in 2007.
Well, the CSD in 2007, I'm going to hold it up here. It's 1 page.
Yeah.
1 single page.
No, I get that.
So when it sounds to me like you're kind of blaming the town council for saying, oh, that's fine, you can build 4,000 homes, whatever. The town council, all they had that the county recognized was this 1 page community standards district. Okay, that was it. It wasn't until.
I get that. I don't want to interrupt you. I mean, I'm hoping you'll let me talk and then you can.
I will. I just wanted to clear the air there a little bit as to where the town council was coming from back then.
I know you're defending yourself, and I get it. But okay. I have an opposite view. As a person who was living here at the time, I know with the airport, which happened in 2004, we had all kinds of meetings. There were over 200 people. The community, there was a huge turnout on both sides of the issue, but there was a huge turnout because the community was really aware of it and everything that was happening. And so that was I asked the county, I said to them, how many letters did you get opposing? Or they got like 5 letters. Just looking at Gardens of Paradise, which is a way smaller impact than this project is ever going to have. There was probably over 100 letters on that project. And I helped participate with that because it didn't even bother me because I live on the other side of town, but I knew people that it was really bothering and I wanted to support them. But I feel that if you look at it, the notices at the time in 2007, they were done in the libraries. There was no notices in the Country Journal. They were done in L'Opinion and the Signal. I do not recall being aware that there was, number one, this really inadequate, insufficient 2007 SCIR, which did not include anything on the wastewater treatment plant. I don't recall being told the EIR was available to the public to read. I also don't recall that any notification from the town council on the hearing. Because more than 5 people would have attended. You know, I just feel that, and I don't feel that there was any polling that was done. I was aware of the project. Of course I was. I lived here. I moved here. Pratty project. I knew about Pratty. And then I knew about Kusilis. I knew about Kusilis's proposals because he kept coming to the town council and Lillian was putting it in the Country Journal. And I know about all that. But I did not know when the EIR was available for public comment. And I did not know when there was a hearing that they had reached a final map. And I feel that really let us down. But I don't want to dwell on the past. I just want to mention that I'm hoping the town council now, talking about now, I haven't seen any letters from the town council because you've had all these hearings now, or hearings said, on what basis could you even do that since there was absolutely 0 studies done on the wastewater treatment plant? You have no basis for that, and that there is in the there's mitigation in the 2007 final SEIR where they say that they're going to mitigate the air quality or do whatever. And I'm like, how did you even come up with that since you don't even know what the impacts are? So we have a lot.
Justine, this could go on for an hour. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your efforts. Get a hold of Marcy. Let's get this team going and let's rattle some cages, it sounds like.
That's
okay.
It.
So next up we have this case I want to personally, there's a couple people that are involved in this that are attorneys. So we've got local attorneys. I'm not saying that they're land specialists or anything else, but I believe that they're thinking about that. And that's something that I appreciate your input. I'm not trying to cut you off. It's just, we got a whole lot of stuff to cover here. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. All right, great. Thank you. All right. So everybody's going to get a hold of Marcy Winter with her email, which would be fantastic. We're already ahead of the game. All right. So next up, we have, believe it or not, we have open forum, but I think we've just gotten through having open forum, don't you? But if anybody has anything else to share, we will give them a maximum of 2 minutes to share something. And I'm going to beep you. I'm going to cut you off if you go over 2 minutes. So does anybody else have anything to share for a maximum of 2 minutes?
Hey, Don, for the open forum, I'd like to share something, kind of going back to that vote real quick. It's more important than you guys think what's going on with that. Long term, technically, the big difference between LAPD and the Sheriff's Department is that LAPD is beholden to the mayor. So the mayor recently said no more traffic stops for minor violations, that kind of thing. So the mayor dictates how law enforcement works. We're more independent, and as that power gets taken away, the quality of law enforcement will go down. So it's a bigger issue than just whether or not guys are vaccinated, and that we can get into all that, but that's not the case. It's where does this lead? Believe it or not, guys, you guys are very fortunate to have a sheriff's department that's aggressive in finding, all that stuff. When we do enforcement on little stuff, doesn't mean that we give everyone tickets or anything like that, but that leads to bigger stuff. And eventually that goes away when we get micromanaged from a different, board. So that's all I got to say about that. So if you guys can get involved, then we'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I see a couple hands up here. Looks like Amanda. Go ahead. 2 minutes. Amanda, you can unmute your microphone there. All right. Okay. Then we're going to go to Susan for 2 minutes.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Chris. What a wonderful project, the way you put the project together, presentation.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, you guys, as you know, I'm very active in our community when it comes to things that are not rural. But I was recently told about the Ritter Home Ranch that's coming from Palmdale over to Sierra Highway up to Boiling Point with 6,000 new homes from apartments to Section 8 to homes starting at 400, very much like the 5 Points behind Magic Mountain. Is that true that it's coming all the way up to Boiling Point and Sierra Highway?
I have not heard a thing about it.
Wow, I recently downloaded the 600-page document, and I was very surprised to see that it's been approved and moving forward. But our town council does not know anything about it, correct?
We have not received anything as far as any. I mean, Mary, are you aware of anything that we received regarding the Ritter Ranch?
No, I just know back years and years and years ago, it was talked about, but there's nothing that we've been made aware of recently. No.
Well, you guys, if you get a chance, you should Google it. It's pretty amazing. I had no idea, of course. That's it. And I have a lot of documents, Chris, that I will send you that I downloaded from the county website page. Probably more than 4,000 pages. Actually, have them in binder. I'd love to hand them over to you. So when you get a hold of Marcy, I think I have your email. I'll make sure you get into our Google Drive so you can see them all.
Do they come with cliff notes?
I will give you some personal clip notes.
Thank you.
that'll be a cup of coffee.
Thank you much. All right,
it.
Amanda, you're up.
Okay.
Amanda, go ahead.
I couldn't get the mute button to.
That's okay.
Just a quick. I think we're all pretty clear on what is and isn't going on with this project at this point. My question is there any way to get a cease and desist until all the organizations, all the county organizations that take place that are involved in this kind of project, with there's $1 million and the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing? Yeah. Because once they've torn everything up and the project doesn't go, who's going to put it back?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that'll be discussed when that group gets together. We appreciate that input. Thank you much. Okay. Oh, Stuart, yes, go ahead. You got 2 minutes, Stuart. What do you got?
Hi, everyone. Regarding the RTG development, if and when there is interest to hire a legal agency or an attorney to represent the concerned citizens, there may be an opportunity to do cost sharing through. I'm trying to think of that online thing where you donate money and
GoFundMe.
Yeah,
like the truckers in Canada.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to throw that in there just in case that does become a reality.
Awesome. Yeah, we also have Pacific Legal Foundation, which has been to a few of our meetings, and they sometimes get involved in matters like these. But okay, so if anybody, I don't see anybody else has any questions out there, we're going to continue on to the reports. High-speed rail update. Pam Walter. She's not here. So we have the CHP Community Advisory Committee meeting. Candy Clemente's report.
No meeting.
No meeting. Okay. And we've got Bylaws Revision Committee. Lou and Mary. Anything
Nothing
new?
to report.
Okay. Election Committee Chair Rosie. Is Rosie here? She's always here. Where you at, Rosie? She hiding? She on the phone? Well, if she's here, I'll come back to her. Film Committee, Candy.
13.
13.
Yep.
Okay. Parks and Trails.
Well, I guess there's some signs over at Vasquez Rocks for no mountain biking on the trails.
Fantastic. Okay. Water Stewardship. We had a great December, but a lousy January. So we're hoping that we get rain. They're talking about maybe the middle of February, but wells are kind of holding their own for right now. They're not really improving. They're not dropping down. So I guess that's a good thing. But let's all hope we get some decent rainfall and snowpack that helps things to recover in our area here. Ways and Means, Scott, have you got anything to share with us?
Nothing to share, Don.
All right. Disaster planning, Gary, let's hear.
Okay, so we've been on somewhat of a hiatus, partially because of COVID. Our previous website Acton Agua Dulce Disaster Planning.com has now been deplatformed because they sold off the sponsor. So what we are doing now is trying to reconstitute the information and files that we had on that site and looking to transfer that information over onto a new website at this time. So that's going to take some time. In the meantime, we still have our Facebook pages, Acton Agua Dulce Emergencies and Acton Agua Dulce Disaster Planning. The Acton Agua Dulce Emergencies is kind of taking the main share of the information that's being updated. Primarily, Darlene is doing a lot of the administrative work on that as far as traffic accidents and fire incidents on the freeway and other ancillary information that needs to get out to the community. So we're going to continue with that in the meantime. And then just to let you know, we have on the web under the Acton Agua Dulce Amateur Radio Club, an adarc.org or Acton Agua Dulce Amateur Radio Club.org on the website. We're going to look at trying to share some of the developments that we're coming up with in the radio club with disaster planning. And we may be coming to the town council. We'll ask you guys if you would like some information shared in the form of a brief presentation to let you guys know what we've put up on the airwaves to allow for emergency communications to the outside world. That's a backup to cell towers and some of the other primary communications avenues that may go down if we have an earthquake or some other disaster like a fire, where we lost our cell phone tower after 12 hours. So that's kind of like a quick look at what's been going on. We've kind of been keeping a low profile. We're going to try to up the game a little bit here and become more current. The whole COVID thing, it's hard to get your arm around what's going on with that and weave that into our disaster planning website, since we have such a wide variance of opinions on what to do, how to do. But anyway, that is pretty much a quick summary of where we are today and where we've been. So do you guys have any questions?
I have a comment. I just thank you for all the effort you've put into it. You've kept it alive. You've been instrumental in forming it, and we appreciate you. You don't know how many people go on that site, but I know I always direct them to it when they want to know what's going on in a fire situation or when traffic gets backed up. So we definitely appreciate your efforts, and just keep it alive, and we'll take it a step at a time rebuilding. We appreciate both you and Darlene.
Yeah, and I appreciate those comments. My question would be directed at Chris. Chris, do you have, maybe we need to collaborate in the future here. It looks like you have your plate full right now, but I'm open to any discussions or questions you might have.
Yeah, my only comment is that Captain Polgar is the LA fire captain who's been looking after the community emergency response team for the Antelope Valley, which encompasses both Acton and Agua Dulce. He's actually retiring next month. So I think his last training is going to be March, and I think the sort of management team of the CERT over in the Antelope Valley is sort of trying to figure out what comes next. Because obviously the county fire department is much more proactive in CERT than the sheriff's department is, even though CERT typically falls under the wing of the sheriff's department. So I think watch this space. We'll report back.
Okay, and yeah, I actually know Captain Polgar quite well. I was in some of the first classes they had here at the Shepherd of the Valley Church for cert qualification. So just if you get any news on that, just text it to me or to Darlene, and so I'm in the know on that.
I will do that.
Great. Thank you very much, Gary. I appreciate the report.
Well,
Acton Town Council Liaison, Lillian.
I just am seeing, she put something in the chat, and she says the town council is considering the fire inspection fee. Information is vague right now. Working with Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo regarding trails. Council is looking at a proposed parking ordinance, wireless facility ordinance. Pam Walter on Monday evening reported that she has heard from high-speed rail representative that there should be the release of the DEIR in March, but there is no specific date. The council is still fighting Edison and the problem of net zero goals for the environment under climate change.
All right. Well, thank you, Lillian. We appreciate you coming to the meeting and sharing those concerns with us. Announcements. We have cat adoption fees have been reduced to $28. So you can adopt a cat for $28. That's only during the month of February. And that includes in the adoption fee is the spay and neuter, vaccination, and microchipping. Household hazardous waste and e-waste collection, again, is the first and third Saturdays of each month. It's at 1200 West City Ranch Road in Palmdale. Association of Rural Town Councils meeting this month is going to be held February 23rd via Zoom. Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee's meeting is March 3rd, 2022 via Zoom. Links can be found on the agenda. Next regular Agua Dulce Town Council meeting is going to be held February 9th. No.
Okay.
Tonight.
Sorry about that.
That's too quick, Mary.
I think so. Let's make that March 9th.
March 9th, right?
Yeah.
Okay, March 9th. And any new business? I don't think we have any new business other than what's continuing here. Future agenda items. Again, we have Cali Lake. Haven't heard much. Have we heard? We haven't heard much from them. Public Works trash collection. That's kind of gone by the side for right now. Update from Edison on reconductoring progress. And how about did everybody get their new Edison bill? Yeah, a bunch of people clapping over that. And next month, we're going to have Zoe International update on residential issues. So she did respond to Mary's letter, and they will put together a report. Be good to hear from them.
One other thing, Don. Josie indicated from Public Works indicated that she would like to do a short presentation at a future meeting on graffiti abatement.
Okay.
So
all right.
She's going to let me know when she wants to do it, and we'll get her on.
I'm thinking April or May, something like that. Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We've had a very good meeting. It seems like a lot of knowledge was shared. Chris, I want to thank you particularly for your report. Very detailed, very understandable. We just look forward to working with you on this, and I hope the group comes out with some positive results and we come up with a game plan, come up with a drafted letter or something that we can send off to the people that are in authority that may be able to make a difference. And that's what we look forward to.
Hey, John, Kat Hupp's got a question. Kat Hupp's got a question.
Scott, yeah, Pat, yep, where are we at? Okay.
Kat, I'm sorry.
Pat,
I just wanted to reiterate or question the Acton Town Council doesn't have anything to say about this RTG development. I mean, doesn't it go into the Acton area?
Well, no, it's actually in the Agua Dulce CSD, unfortunately. Obviously they're concerned too, and I'm sure they're researching what avenues they have for any kind of action.
So phase one is our area, but eventually it goes over to their area.
Yeah.
correct?
Well, it's in the Ogwood also actually stretches into the area where they start, I believe. Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's actually in our CSD area. It's kind of strange right through there.
Yeah.
Okay.
The entire project is actually within the Agua community standards.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Okay. All right.
Sorry to bother, but thank you.
No, that's fine. All right. The water line. Yeah, Chris brought the point that water line is coming supposedly from Red Rover. I understand from someone that they actually purchased the property that has the T connection for them to connect into the water. But that's something that's going to be researched by the committee. So, or the group, not the committee, the group. Other than that, I think that's it. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this meeting from someone out there. Yes.
Don, this is Ken. I will make a motion, but before I do, I just sincerely want to thank Chris for everything he's done, all the research, all the information. Really appreciate it, and I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, on that, I will look for a second to that motion. Anybody want to second that
I'll
motion?
second it.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Chris. And we look forward to talking to you in the near future. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
No, she doesn't. And